Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. So in today's class we are going to discuss about the short answer question in the chapter Animal Diversity 2. Okay, so this lesson is going to deal with completely phylum chordates. Okay, so first question will be name the four hallmarks of the chordates and explain their functions. Okay, so we have to explain four important characteristics of chordates and what is their functions. Okay, so the the question has been asking this four hallmarks of the chordates. The first character will be this notochord. Okay, so notochord is very important characteristic features present only in the chordates. So the main difference between this non-chordates and chordates will be if the notochord is present, we are going to call them as the chordates. If it is absent, we are calling them as the non-chordates. So the major distinguishing factor between this non-chordates and chordates will be this notochord. Now, how the notochord, what will be the structure of the notochord? So this is a flexible rod-like structure located along the mid-dorsal line between the gut and the nerve. So you should know this notochord will be flexible, the first important point. And the second point will be it is rod-like in structure. Okay, so it is like a rod. So this is called as a rod-like structure and it is located along the mid-dorsal line. So middle upper line between the gut and the nerve. Okay, so you should not think this nerve cord is also called as the notochord. So that is a different. Nerve cord is different and notochord is different. Okay, so the notochord will be present between the gut and the nerve. So this is the structure and location of this notochord. And what is its function? Okay, so this is acting as a supporting structure during their development. Okay, so if there will be an absence of notochord and an animal cannot stand stiff. Okay, so this is the supporting structure which is very much helpful for the particular organism in their development process. So this is what the structure, location and the function of the notochord. Okay, so the second important character will be this dorsal, that is upper tubular nerve cord. So first we have studied about this notochord and the second character features will be this nerve cord, and that nerve cord will be the dorsal tubular. It is not ventral. Okay, so how the notochord will be? Okay, so it is a single, it is a halo which is in the sense there is nothing present, it is a vacuum. Okay, so it is a vacuum, so that is what a space is called as an halo. Fluid filled nerve cord, so inside that there is a fluid is fluid is there, so that is why we are saying that as a fluid filled nerve cord, and this is situated above the notochord. So where do we have studied the location of this notochord? Between the gut and the nerve cord. Okay, so between the nerve cord and the gut we can find this notochord, and this nerve cord is present just above the notochord is present just above the nerve cord is present just above the notochord, situated above the notochord and below the dorsal body wall. So the nerve cord location, see, this is the notochord and this is the notochord. Don't get confused. This is the nerve cord. This is the nerve cord. This is the notochord, and where this is the gut. Okay, so between the gut and the nerve cord, the notochord is present. Okay, so this is what we have studied in the first slide, and here this is a nerve cord, and this nerve cord is situated above the notochord and below the, so above the nerve cord we can see the dorsal body wall, which means upper body wall. So this is the body wall, dorsal upper side, and below the body wall we can see the nerve cord, and below the nerve cord we can see the notochord, and below the notochord we can see the gut. So this is what a structure. Now it is functioning as a sensory structure. Okay, so this nerve cord, we know that nerves, this is the one conduction of this impulses, so no doubt in that this is a sensory structure. Now in higher chordates, how the nerve cord will be look like? So in the higher chordates, the anterior part becomes the brain, and in the posterior part of the nerve cord becomes the spinal cord. Okay, so the between the structure is called as the cord, and the anterior part will becomes as a brain, and the posterior part, which is the tail portion, this is the head portion, that becomes the spinal cord and the brain. Okay, now The third important structure will be the pharyngeal gill slits. So we have studied this mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and all these were the alimentary canal. So if the gills, as the gill slits are present in the pharynx region, we are calling them as a pharyngeal gill slits. It is a series of lateral perforations in the pharyngeal walls of the ectoendodermal origin. So this is an important thing there where it is present, ectoendodermal origin, and it facilitates the exchange of this respiratory gases. Okay, so this is the function of this particular pharyngeal gill slits. Okay, so as the gills is present in the pharynx region, we are calling them as a pharyngeal gill slits, and their function, it is very much helpful in facilitating the exchange of respiratory gases. So this is an important point. Now the fourth important structure will be this post-anal tail, and it is present only in the chordates, not in the non-chordates. Okay. A tail extending posterior to the anus. So the posterior region will be end with the anus. So that is what a post-anal tail, and often lost during the embryonic development in many species. See, during the embryonic stage, this post-anal tail is getting lost. Say for an example, humans is also coming under the chordate category, no doubt in that. So but human is also having a tail, so that tail is getting lost in the embryonic development itself. So this is an important point. So this may be lost during the embryonic development. It provides the propelling force in aquatic forms and acts as a balancing organ in the terrestrial animals. So what is the point of having this post-anal tail? It is very much helpful for the organisms in the process of swimming. Okay, if the particular chordate is living in the aquatic area, so aquatic ecosystem, definitely it needs tail to swim. So that is what the function of this post-anal tail. So this is what the 4 hallmarks of this chordates and their function. So we have studied about this. First character we have studied is the notochord, and we have studied about how the structure of the what will be the structure, and what will be their location, and what will be their function. So we have studied for the notochord and the nerve cord, where it is present, how it looks like, and what is the function of this nerve cord. And pharyngeal gill slits, which is present in the pharynx region, ectoendodermal origin, and it is responsible for exchanging of the gases. And most important point will be the post-anal tail and its function. So this is what the 4 hallmarks of the chordates. Okay. So the next question will be this. We have to compare and contrast the sea squids and the lancelets. So before that, you should know that. So before a proper, so we have classified this chordate into 2. Okay. So that is lower chordates and the upper chordates. So in the lower chordates, we can classify this lower chordates into Protochordata and Urochordata and Cephalochordata. Okay, Cephalochordata. So this, Hemichordata. So all these 3 together we are calling them as the Protochordata. Okay, just I'll explain once again. See, in this chordate, we can classify them into 2 lower chordates and upper chordates. In the lower chordates, there is a Urochordata, Hemichordata, and Cephalochordata. All these 3 primitive chordates, we are calling them as the protochordates. Okay, so in the in the upper chordates, we are having a subphylum which is called as a vertebrates. Okay, so in this vertebrates, we can have a class called the fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals. So these are all the upper chordates. So we are going to compare here sea squids and the lancelets. Sea squids is coming under the phylum Urochordata, and lancelets is coming under the Cephalochordata. So we have to compare the differences between these 2 chordates. Okay, so first thing, what will be the habitat, where it is going to live. Okay, so it is living in the marine area. Okay, this lancelets is also living in the marine area. It is found from the surface waters to greater depths, sessile or pelagic, solitary or colonial. So see here, the habitat of sea squids is marine, no doubt in that, but it can live in the surface of the ocean, surface of the water, as well as in the deep water. Okay, it can live with light and without light. Okay, so that is what found from the surface waters to the greater depths. It may be sessile or the pelagic. It can be attached to it. It will be sedentary, which means it can't move. Some cannot move, some can move. So that is what is sessile or pelagic. And solitary or colonial. Solitary means individual. Colonial means a group of individuals. Group of individuals is called as a colonial. So this is what it can live in either of all these forms. Now, when it comes to the lancelets, it leads a burrowing life in shallow sea waters. It is not in deep. It is not in the. It is not in the very deep of the waters. But before that, it will be living in the shallow sea waters. So that is what a habitat of this lancelets. Now, how the body structure will be. So the sea squid structure will be this unsegmented body. Okay, there is no segment seen in the sea squids, and it is covered by a layer which is called as a test or tunic. And this test or tunic is made up of a protein which is called as a cellulose. Right? Now this lancelets is look like a fish. Translucent body, okay, with median fins but no paired fins. It is not an exactly a fish, it is fish like. Okay, so what are all the fins present in the fish need not to be present in the lancelets. It just look like a fish, okay, but there will be no paired fins will be present in this lancelets. Now what will be the larval features? Larva has a tail, it is dorsal, halo, nerve cord, notochord in their tail, hence Urochordata. So the most unique characteristic features of this chordates will be the notochord will be present, but it is restricted only with respect to the tail region, okay, but it is not present in the entire body. That is why the Urochordates is also called as the tunicates. Okay, so tunicates in the sense the notochord will be present, will be restricted only with respect to the tail region. Okay, so that is why the name tunicates or Urochordates. So the larva definitely has a tail, and they are having a dorsal halo nerve cord, and the notochord will be present in the tail region. But what about this lancelets? So it presses the notochord, no doubt in that, and here it will be tubular nerve cord, definitely pharyngeal gill slits will be there, and throughout the life, okay, which means what? Throughout the life all these characters will be present. Circulatory system. So what is the basic difference between this Urochordates and Cephalochordata means? So the notochord will be present throughout the life cycle in case of Cephalochordata. If it is restricted with respect to only this tail region, we are calling them as a Urochordates. Okay. So now the circulatory system. Circulatory system is open type. Okay. Circulatory system is open type, and the lancelets is the closed type. So this open type, simple tubular ventral heart that reserves blood flow direction, which means, so what is meant by the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system? Open circulatory system in the sense there will be no point of having this blood vessels. Blood will not flow through the blood vessels. Okay. So in case of closed circulatory system, all the blood will be flow through the blood vessels and capillaries. Okay. If it is absent, we are calling them as the open type of circulatory system. See, this Urochordates will having the open type of circulatory system, and simple tubular ventral cord heart reserves blood flow direction. Okay, so this simple tubular ventral cord that reserves blood flow direction. So this is a closed step. The lancelets are having a closed circulatory system. There will be no heart, and there is a blood corpuscles will be present here, and here respiratory pigment here. The best example, in case just remember the human, we are having a blood capillaries and blood vessels. We are having a respiratory pigment. Okay, so what will be the examples? The example will be the acidia. So that is what the sea squid, and branchiostoma is coming under the type of this lancelet. Okay, so this is what a major difference between the sea squid and the lancelet. So whenever you are studying about the specific organism, always find the difference between this Urochordates and Cephalochordates. Okay, it will be easy for us to remember. Okay, so this is the second question. Compare and contrast the cartilaginous and bony fishes. Okay, so cartilaginous fishes is technically called as a chondrichthyes, and bony fishes is technically called as the osteichthyes. Okay, so what will be the feature? It is a caudal fin, which is the caudal fin in the sense the tail fin. Okay, so the tail fin will be the heterocircle. Heterocircle. The bony fishes, it will be diphyscercal and the homocircle. So this is what the caudal fin type in case of cartilaginous fishes and the bony fishes. Scales means this is a placoid scales, and this the scales present in the cartilaginous fins will be only one type, that is called as a placoid scales. In case of bony fishes, it will be ganoid, it will be cycloid, or it will be ctenoid scales. Okay, so the endoskeleton, it will be entirely cartilaginous, and this bony fishes, it is composed of a bone. Okay, so this endoskeleton, it is entirely cartilaginous, that is why the name cartilaginous fishes. So it is composed of bone. Okay, that is bony fishes. Mouth and nostrils, they are located ventrally, and see, mouth and nostrils in cartilaginous fishes, they are located ventrally. But here in the mouth and nostrils in bony fishes, they were usually terminal in the end. Okay, so here the digestive tract exit. So the exit means it opens into cloaca if present. If present, the digestive tract, it is not an entry point, it is an exit point. Okay, so which is eliminating all the waste, that is cloaca, and here it will be opens through the anus. Okay, so the air bladder is absent here, and it is mostly present in case of bony fishes. And fertilization and reproduction. So as I have mentioned before, if the fertilization takes place internally within the body, we are calling them as an internal fertilization. Mostly it will be viviparous, which means what? It is an embryo, development of embryo. It is external fertilization. The fertilization will be happening outside the body of the body, and that is the egg laying, that is oviparous in case of bony fishes. And what will be the best example for cartilaginous fishes? That is Coleodon, that is dogfish shark. Katla, there is an Indian carp. So these are all the examples for this cartilaginous fishes and bony fishes. And this is the basic important difference between this cartilaginous fishes and the bony fishes. Okay. Next, the fourth important question will be this: describe the structure of the heart of the frog. Okay, but before that, you should know frog is coming under which phylum. It is coming under the phylum Chordates. It is coming under the class amphibians. So those organisms which can live both in water as well as in land, we are calling them as the amphibians. Okay, so first, what will be the heart's location and its covering? Okay, the heart is a muscular organ. Okay, again it is made up of muscles. It is located in the upper part of the body in case of frog. So it is enclosed by a double layer membrane, pericardium. So human also, heart is enclosed by a double walled membrane, double layered membrane, that is called as a pericardium. The same in case of the frog. The chambers. So in case of fishes, there is two chambers. Okay, one auricle and one ventricle. So in case of amphibians, there will be two atrium and one ventricle. So totally three chambers of heart. In reptiles, again it will be three chambers of heart except this crocodile. And in case of aves and the mammals, we are having the four chambers of heart, both in the birds as well as in the mammals. So in case of three-chambered heart, they are having two atrium and one undivided ventricle. So this is what the three chambers of heart in case of the amphibians. Sinus venosus, an important structure in the structure of the heart of the frog. So it is a triangular chamber because two auricle and only one ventricle. So right atrium and the right ventricle. So it will be like triangular. Okay, triangular chamber joins the right atrium dorsally, and it receives the blood from three vena cavas, that is caval veins. So these are collectively called as a sinus venosus. Fourth important structure will be the conus arteriosus. Here the ventricle opens into the conus arteriosus. So what do we have studied here? So the right atrium, okay, here the right atrium, the atrium receives the blood from the three vena cava is sinus venosus, but here the conus arteriosus is on their ventral side, it is opening into the conus arteriosus. It is opening into this structure. The conus arteriosus bifurcates into two branches, each having three aortic arches. See, this conus arteriosus divides into two branches. This is one branch and this is second branch. Okay, and in each branch they are having three important aortic arches. What are all the arches? Carotid arches, systemic and pulmocutaneous. So like in the same way here, this branch is also having carotid, systemic and pulmocutaneous aortic arches. Okay, so this is what the structure of conus arteriosus. Now how the circulation of this frog will be? The blood is distributed to all body parts via these branches of this aortic arches. So what is the function of this aortic arches? These are all the arches which is bringing the body to all parts of the body. Okay, bringing the blood to all parts of the body. Now these three major veins collect blood from the body and return to the sinus venosus. Now all these things collects the blood from the body, and all the body has been returned to the sinus venosus. Again the cycle continues. Okay, so this is what a important structure of the heart of the frog. Okay. Now, so here the next question will be, write 8 salient features of the class Amphibia. Okay, so the 8 salient features of the class Amphibia. So the body structure, here the body is divided into distinct head and the trunk. Tail may or may not be present. Okay, so the body is divided into distinct head structure and the trunk structure, and the tail may present and tail may not be present. Okay, so in the skin it will be very soft and it will be always moist, and it is glandular. Always the secretions will be there, and there will be no scales present in case of this amphibians. Okay, except in apoda. Okay, so except always there is an exemptions in each and every class under the phylum. So here the exemption will be the aphoda. And the limbs, 2 pairs of pentadactyl limbs. So pentadactyl limb, penta means 5. Okay, 5 finger length. So this limb, that is called as a pentadactyl limbs, and here the limbs will be in 2 pairs. 2 pairs, which means 4. Caecilians are limbless. Okay, so another exemptions here. And what are all the skeletal features here? The skull is dicondylic, which means 2 occipital condyles. Vertebrate types. Here the vertebrate types will be precoelous in anurans, amphicoelous in selacians, opisthocoelous in the urodales. Okay, so these are all the vertebrate types. Very, very, very important. Here the skull is dicondylic, and that dicondylic, which is nothing but an occipital condyles. Here the vertebrate types will be procoelous, amphicoelous and opisthocoelous in case of all these animals. Okay, sternum appears first time in amphibians. Another important point, this can also be asked in the very short answer questions also. The sternum appears first time in amphibians only. So another important structure will be this dentition and the mouth. Okay, so the mouth, the larger mouth with archodont, homodont and polyphyodont teeth. So the types of teeth, the dentition will be, it may be archodont, maybe homodont, which means all the teeth will be very similar in size. Polyphyodont. Okay, so these are all the dentition type. And respiration, so this is the another important thing. Cutaneous respiration is also seen in case of amphibians. Okay, also perform pulmonary and buccopharyngeal respirations. Another important thing, pulmonary in the sense this is nothing but a lungs. Okay, lungs is a respiratory organ, so this is what a pulmonary respiration. Buccopharyngeal respiration is also possible. Branchial respiration occurs in larva and some adult urodales. So we can see here cutaneous respiration, pulmonary respiration, buccopharyngeal respiration and the branchial respiration. So all the types of respiration can be seen in case of the class amphibians. Okay, now what about the circulatory system? Just now we have studied there will be the 3-chambered heart with sinus venosus and conus arteriosus. So these are all the important structure, and along with that this conus arteriosus is further divided into 2 branches. Each branch they are having 3 pairs of aortic arches. Just now we have studied. So well developed portal system. Here the portal system is also very well developed. Erythrocytes are nucleate. So another important thing here will be this nucleated RBCs. Erythrocyte is nothing but RBC. Here there will be the presence of this nucleus is present here. But in case of humans, the RBC is non-nucleate. There will be no nucleus present in case of human RBC. Okay. Now the reproduction and the development. Here the sexes are separate. Okay, separate sexes can be seen, which means male will be a different individual and the female will be the different individual. And the fertilization mostly external fertilization. Okay, so external fertilization and internal fertilization. Okay, so yes, sexes are separate, which means male and female will be a different individual, dioecious in nature. So that is why the fertilization will be definitely taking place, sexual reproduction. And here the fertilization will be mostly external fertilization, which means what? The fertilization will not be happen within the body of the female. Okay, so development mostly indirect. So in yesterday's class I have explained you what is direct development and what is indirect development. Direct development in the sense there will be the young ones will be straight away gives rise to an adult, there will be no involvement of the larval stages. So in case of indirect development, the young ones is developed into a larval stage 1, larval stage 2, and finally it will be developed into an adult. So that is what direct and indirect development. Here the development is indirect, so obviously there will be the presence of this larval stage. Okay, so example, these are Bufo, Rana, Hyla, Salamandra, Ichthyophis, Rhacophorus. So these are all the different types of rock, and the examples are very important. These are all the 8 salient features for the class Amphibia. Okay. So next, the male reproductive system of the frog. Okay, so the male reproductive system. So the diagram will be, even though you can't draw a completely well precise diagram, at least draw a rough diagram and marks the part clearly. Okay, so that is sufficient. Okay, you don't want to do an exact diagram. Okay, as like in the book. So there is an vasa efferentia, testis will be there, and fat bodies will be there. Bidder's canal, very important structure. Bidder's canal and adrenal gland, rectum is present, cloaca, and this is a urinary bladder, and this is a cloacal aperture where the urine as well as the sperm is getting out from the common opening. Okay, so these are all the important parts present in this male reproductive system in the frog. Okay, just to see this bidder's canal, this is present only in the male frog, but it is absent in the female frog. So this is very important difference. Okay, now, so the first question will be this testis, a pair of yellowish ovoid testis. So there will be a pair, which means 2 testes will be present, and each one is attached to the kidney and the dorsal body wall by the double fold peritoneum, which is called as a mesorchium, another important structure. Okay, so this testis is attached to the kidneys and the dorsal body wall of the double fold peritoneum. So all these will be covered by a membrane which is called as a peritoneum, called the mesorchium. And seminiferous tubules. So each testis, they are having a many seminiferous tubules. These tubules unite to form 10 to 12 narrow tubules, which is called as a vasa efferentia. See, this testis, they are having a many tubules, and that is what a seminiferous tubules. So many 10 seminiferous tubules together form a common tubule, that is called as a vasa efferentia. Okay, now vasa efferentia pathway. Now this vasa efferentia will be entered into kidney, and in kidney, where exactly? It is into the Bidder's canal. Okay, now the Bidder's canal, from the Bidder's canal it will be connect to the ureter through an important structure which is called as a transverse canals. Through some canals it is reaching the ureter, which is inside the kidney. Now, urinogenital ducts. Why it is called as a urinogenital ducts? In the sense, see, the urine is also opens into the cloaca or emptied into the genital through the testis producing the sperm, that is also opens into the cloaca. So this cloaca is a common opening for us, both the urinoduct as well as the genital duct. That is why it is called as the urinogenital duct. Okay, so this is the important structure of the male reproductive system. Okay, now the next question will be this: modifications in birds that help in the flight, which means flight adaptations. Okay, so the flight adaptation means definitely it is the chordate, specifically the class aves. Aves is nothing but a birds. Okay, how their body will be streamlined. Okay, why the body shape is streamlined? Because it is reducing the air resistance during the flight. Okay, it is steering the wind so that it can easily fly. Okay, so that is why the body shape has been streamlined. Now what is the forelimbs? The forelimbs is the one modified into wings. It is the one responsible for the flight. Okay, and the skin under the glands, how the skin has been adopted for the birds to fly. The skin is dry and the glandless. There will be no gland, no secretion. So that is why the skin is dry. Okay, especially for the uropharyngeal glands at the base of the tail, which protects the tail feathers. Very important. So what do we have studied? The skin is dry. Why? Because there will be no presence of gland in case of the skin. So that is why the skin looks dry. But one gland is present, that is uropharyngeal gland, that is commonly called as a preen gland. It is present only in the tail region. Why it has to present in the tail region means because it is going to protect the tail fibers. Okay. Now, exoskeleton. So here the exoskeleton is composed of epidermal feathers. Okay. So it is composed of epidermal feathers with an interlocking system and unique feature aiding in flight. Okay, so the exoskeleton is nothing but a epidermal feathers. Okay, the feather is a skeletal system for the birds with an interlocking system. So this feathers is very important structure for the birds to help in their flight mechanism. Now what are all the skeletal adaptations? Okay, so it is a long bone which is hollow, which means why it has to be hollow. So in case of human bone, inside the bone we can see the bone marrow. Okay, but in case of birds, inside the bone we can't see anything, any material. It has been hollow, it is empty, it is just a vacuum. That is what a hollow, which means it is pneumatic, air filled. Why it has been filled with the air? To reduce the weight. Okay, to reduce the weight. If the bird is too heavy, it can't lift their body and it can't fly. Okay, only the bird is very light, it can easily fly with the help of the feathers. Okay, so that is why the bone is pneumatic. Right, now the skull is monochondric in nature. Okay, now the vertebrae are heterocoelous. It is in the shadow shape. Again it is further known for its flexibility. Now synsacrum progestile, so the furcula. So these are important than keel. So these are the important skeleton. Okay, synsacrum, which means it's a fusion of lost thoracic, lumbar, sacral and anterior caudal vertebrae. See, lost thoracic bone, lumbar bone, and sacral bone and the anterior caudal vertebrae fused together. We are calling them as a synsacrum. Okay, now the synsacrum is fused with the pelvic girdle. Why it has to fused with the pelvic girdle? For the hind limb support. Now phygostyle. So this fusion of this posterior caudal vertebrae supports the tail feathers. So this see, there will be a posterior caudal vertebrae. Altogether they are getting fused. Why it has to fuse? They are protecting the tail feathers. They are supporting the tail feathers. So that will be done by this phygostyle. Now the sternum. Sternum is a structure which has a keel. Keel is nothing but a carina for attachment of this flight muscles, which is absent in the flightless birds, that is rat-eyed birds. Okay. Furcula, that is a wishbone. What is furcula? What is its function? Means they are formed by the fusion of both clavicles with interclavicle, provides the structural support. See, the synsacrum, phygostyle, sternum and furcula, all these will be supporting structure for the flight birds. Okay, so what are all the flight muscles? Now we have studied the skeleton, which is responsible for the flight. Now what are all the muscles which is responsible for this flight? So there is a powerful breast muscles, that is pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. So this is the important muscle, flight muscles. Okay, now the next question will be this: features peculiar to the rat-eyed birds. ratite birds, that is flightless birds. Okay, ratite, it is common, it is technically called as paleognathae. Okay, what will be their flight ability? There will, these are modern flightless running birds. Okay, they are not flight birds, they are flightless birds. That is why we are calling them as a ratite birds. Okay, so the how, where it is going to distribute? Show discontinuous distribution similar to lungfishes and marsupials. Okay, so this is how it will be distributed among the around the globe. How their wings and sternum are getting adopted? Possess reduced wings because it is flightless. That is why the wings are not getting functioning properly and it is not developed properly. Now sternum, it is raft-like and it lacks a keel. Okay, so keel is what? Keel is the sternum. The sternum, they are having a keel. In case of flight birds, here the sternum, there will be no keel present in the ratite birds. Now what will be there? A male reproductive anatomy. So here the males possess a penis unlike most other birds. Okay, so male possess a penis unlike the most other birds, which means what? The flight birds, they are not having a penis. Ocal and the skeletal features. There is a syrinx. Here the voice box is absent. Syrinx is present in case of flight birds. Here the clavicles are absent, preen glands are absent, because all these structures are very important for supporting for the flight, okay, flight birds. So the best example for ratite birds will be this Struthiocamelus, that is African ostrich, kiwi, that is what a national bird of the New Zealand. Okay, so this is an important structure, peculiar adaptations for the ratite birds. Okay, so that's all about today's class. We are going to discuss the short answer portion in the next chapter. Okay, thank you so much.